Alright, so this is what we will be animating. We will be combining the previous lesson of rigging the can with a simple bone armature and applying a bend modifier on the simple deform modifier on the can right here. Okay, so the starting file will be provided in the link description, and so you'll be able to participate. Okay, so just kind of previewing it here. So all we're doing is um, doing some principles of animation, anticipation, and then we have our maintain volume. So your solid drawing aspect right there, and some exaggeration. We also have fast in, fast out, so slow in, slow out, manipulation of the function curve, and finally just a simple bend so that this character looks like it's really happy to jump and whatnot. Okay, and we can make the timing adjustments to make this guy jump faster and all that kind of stuff. All right, so I mean, and that's easy to do because you can select all the aspect here of keyframing, and you can just scale that. I'm gonna go back to frame one. I can scale it, so everything will be just kind of shortened, so you can definitely edit your animation later and make the jump to your desire. Okay, so the can now lands a lot faster. All right, so let's get started. So this will be the file that you will get. First thing is I want to make sure that we're just animating in object mode here, so we can keep our value XYZ the same thing as the world. Okay, let me just turn on all my keys. And since we want the can kind of bending at the center, we want to make sure that the pivot point is at the center of this can right here. And we're just gonna kind of approximate that. We can do a set origin right here, origin to geometry, which it kind of goes up here. Let's say we want it a little bit over here. It's not quite, let's see, it's fairly close to like 4 meters here. So let's just go to our view in our 3D cursor location. So I'm gonna move it up. So right there probably would work for us. I'm gonna set it to 2. All right, and then we're gonna go with the can selected. I'm gonna go object, set origin to 3D cursor, and now the point of rotation of the can will be right there. Okay. The can is also modified so that we already have the rings from the previous lesson, so this one will definitely bend. All right, so now let's rig the can. So we select the can first, shift click the bone or the armature, control P, automatic weights. So now when we select the bone and move it, the can follows. When we select the can, it has its independence. All right, while we have the object, the bone selected also, let's add a constraint to it. I already have one here, but let me add another one just so I could show it to you. Okay, go to the object constraint and then just maintain volume. That means when we are scaling this, it just keeps the volume so we don't have to animate. We don't have to do counter animation. X and Y will be preserved. We want it on Z. Okay, sorry, forgot to change that so that when you do it on Z, you also expand it on the X and Y. All right, and we're almost done. We're going to select the can. We're going to add a modifier to it. Okay, add modifier. We will add simple deform. So this is from the previous lesson, but we only did it by itself, right? So a simple deform right here. And we're going to go to bend. Okay, and we're going to keep it on the X so that we can kind of the jump for joy kind of animation that we can do. Okay. All right, so we'll leave it like that. Of course you can. And we're going to leave the origin default in the center. You can also change this, if you decided to select the bottom of this bone right here. So now the bending will where the pivot point of the bone will be, which is here at the bottom. Okay, but for our purpose, we just want it in the center. So we'll leave that at 0 for now, so there's no bending. I'm going to go to 1 right here, and then we can do all our timing here. Okay, now we can start our animation. I'm going to set the to 50 here. We're probably going to need 50 or 40 frames, depending on how much overlapping. So again, we're still studying principles of animation here, so a lot of these things you already know. You just probably the terminology is what's you're not familiar with. Okay, so first thing is that um, we're going to kind of break it down. Okay, we're going to provide time for it to do the anticipation and the follow through or overlapping animation. So the purpose for this one is for just this in object mode, for this bone to just kind of go up and then down, and then we need certain things to happen so that it doesn't look too stiff, right? So definitely we need some anticipation in this one, right? So before this can jumps, all right? So for that, let's say we will give it 8 frames to do that, okay? So this can will not start jumping until frame 8. Okay, so we're providing 1 to 8 as its anticipation. We're just simply doing this to anticipate. Then it jumps, okay? But we will do it kind of one at a time. So I'm going to go with my move tool first. Let's do the jump first, all right? So it won't start to jump until 8, so I move my time to 8. And then I'm going to go to item right here. So z-axis is what we're affecting, that goes up and down. Since it's starting to jump on frame 8, I will keep frame Z at 0 at frame 8. So I'm going to simply right click here, insert single keyframe. Okay, so this can will then jump. Okay, so let's say this can will jump, let's say 10 frames. Okay, from 8 to 18, it goes that high. Okay, so just you can easily follow. I'm just going to type in 10 right here. So the initial one was 0, right? And then now on frame 18, we jump 10. So it's single keyframe. All right, so that's the value. It was used to be 0 on 8. When we move to 18, we put 10. So it's going to land faster. Okay, so that was 10 frames. So let's go with frame 25 here for it to land. Okay, so frame 25, we simply drop that back to 0, right? So we go right here and put that back to 0. All right, so if you want to be precise, I mean, you can actually eyeball it. You probably could do it, right? But it's just better to just type in 0. And that's the other thing that's good to start with. When you start your animation, position it at the center of the world where everything is kind of 0. It just makes it easier for you to track what you're doing. So insert single keyframe. So let's watch this animation. It simply just, all right, so it has that weird kind of reverse effect because this is a function curve issue, right? So let's fix that right now while everything looks pretty simple. Okay, I'm going to switch dope sheet to the graph editor, and then we're simply looking at 1, the Z location. Okay, so this is frame 8 and that's frame 25. So the issue here would be principles of animation. It needs to jump from this elevation here, so it's propelling up, energy going up, so it needs to be fast. And then at the very top, it slows down, right, before it could reach that top, and then slows down here on its way down, maybe 2 frames, and then it just drops fairly quick. Okay, so the function curve is wrong, so we got to fix this one. So this one is slow right now. We want simply select its handle right here, okay, and then press G. But here's what's going to happen. Since that thing is connected, the other arm is also being affected. So what we're going to do, since we're going to affect both of these, we're simply going to change them now. So I'm just going to change them to vector. So with vector, it manipulates the inside handle, okay, even though you could see that kind of went down, but it didn't change the trajectory right there. So basically it broke it down too. Okay, so you could also do free. If you go press and then press free right here, it simply breaks the connection of the two. All right, so either way would work. So let me click undo. Let me put it back to the way it was right there, where it's soft and soft, right, or slow and slow. Select those two right there, I'm gonna press V, and I can go free right here. Okay, and then I can just simply select one of the handle and press G, and then kind of move it up. I don't want to go past the threshold there, because if you have a bump right there, this thing would have a nudge at the top. Okay, so let's see what happens now. So the takeoff is still slow, but the landing is fast. But you can see the difference. All right, see where it's wrong right here. It's slow to take up, but the landing should be good now. It's landing pretty fast, and it has a slow motion right here when it hits the top, which is what we want. Okay, so now let's fix this one. It should also go fast. So now it jumps, and then we have that kind of pause. Let's see what we can do with this one. It's if we kind of slow it down some more. So I'm just kind of dragging but I'm keeping it horizontal right there. All right. All right, so let's say that would work. If ever we need to change the timing, we could do it here. So let's say maybe it took too long for it to go all the way up right here, and then the landing is fine for now. So I can just press G here. Remember, 8 to 18 is how long it took, 10 frames for it to go up. So let's say we decided, okay, we just want that in 2 frames, 2 frames less. Okay, so now instead of 8 to 18, it's now 8 to 16, so it jumps a little bit faster. Okay, and let's say we want that 1 frame faster to land. So instead of 23, I'm going to go to 22. All right, so you can definitely still manipulate all these things here. I might need to play with this a little bit here. That's too extreme with with that fast motion. So I'm just going to lower that a bit. All right, that's much better. All right, so now let's add all the other principles of animation to sell the product here, that this thing is somehow alive, right? So we got to add some anticipation. So going back to dope sheet, so we could just see the keys. Okay, so we know we want to anticipate this, the bone, right, with a scale tool along the z-axis to do the anticipation. So from frame 1, there's no squashing or anticipation, so that's on the z-axis. If I move this, that's what's it stretching it. So on frame 1, no animation. On Z scale, right click, insert single keyframe. All right, there it is. And then we provided 8 frames. So that might be too much or not enough, right? But let's see. So I'm going to go with 6 frames and then lower that so that it kind of anticipate it. Okay. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to go with 0.5 here just so that our values are kind of, you can easily follow them, but it's up to you. Okay, so there's an exaggeration here too, how this thing is squashing. Okay, right click here on frame 6, insert single keyframe. So now we have animated it going like so, and then if you don't do anything, of course it's going to jump squash. So from 6 to 8 we bring it back to 1, like it goes full size. Okay, or if you want to exaggerate this, you can either even go to, let's say, frame 9, and that's when you kind of stretch it. Okay, you go past 1, so you have an exaggeration on its way up. Okay, let's say 1.2 is what we want. Okay, insert, oh, what did I just, let me just insert single keyframe. Let me click undo. There you go. Insert single keyframe. So now if I go one at a time here, so it went down like this and then on its way up. Okay, so and then it stretches all the way up. Okay, and when it reaches 16, of course we want it to be normal, so I'm going to change that back to 1. All right, so let's take a look. All right, there we go. So now let's watch the anticipation. It kind of squashed down and then went back up, and then here 8, it's when it's about to take off. Our number is beyond 1, which is fine. And then there's our little exaggeration there, 9, and then from 9 all the way to 16 it went back to kind of normal shape at 1. Now it's going to drop. Okay, so it's gonna drop. So when it's but it's slowly dropping here. But once it reaches, let's say 20, okay, where it's kind of stretching a bit, right? So let's say 21 here. Let's make it a little taller, right? That it's about to kind of get stretch a bit, okay? Insert single keyframe there, and then on 22, where it lands, we want it back to 1. Okay, so let's watch the animation. So a little bit of exaggeration right there. All right, so very rubbery looking launch right here. So when it goes to 16, and then it has that little Acme Roadrunner Coyote look where it's starting to stretch down here, you know, when they fall off cliff and whatnot. So it has a little bit of that character, and it goes here. Now we got to do the follow through, where this can will kind of, you know, it's not that stiff since we have this anticipation here. We got to counter that over here. So let's say we gave it 6 frames there to kind of do the anticipation. So we could do maybe, I don't know here, 22. Let's go with, let's say 28. Okay, 28, because the impact is much, there's more energy on the impact right here. So 22, there's no scaling. It went back to normal. Then we're going to go 28. We're going to squash it down like so. Okay. Let's say 0.5, just to kind of simplify the animation. Okay. And then, of course, it's going to be less frames now. So this is 20 to 28. So that's 6 frames. I'm just going to go here with maybe 33. I'm going to go over 1. So it has a little bit of stretching. Insert keyframe and then less here. I'm going to go 36. Lower this down. And we're kind of dissipating the energy now. 38. We go over just a hair. And then let's say 40. Actually 38 here. Let me move this 1 frame to the right. Okay. This one, maybe 1 frame here. Yeah, that's fine right there. Then 40, we just simply give it back to 1, where it's normal size again. So let's watch the. All right, so it has like. All right, and we can definitely tweak this one. Maybe make that a little faster. Maybe. I'm just pressing G here to move my timing. Let's see. All right, so let's say that's fine for now. There's definitely more personality that you can add, but looking at the can for what it is, all right, so maybe here it's just too slow with the impact right here. So I'm going to move this. So I want the squash down to be a little bit faster because of the energy on the landing. Okay, let's see. All right, let's kind of lower this to kind of match that. All right. And if you want that longer, totally up to you. You can keep tweaking that one. All right. But for now, everything that we need to do regarding the jump and then down part right here, all done. So now we got to work on the actual can. Okay. So we simply just need this to kind of jump when it kind of. So while it's that's frame 8 is when it leaves the ground, right? So frame 8. So this is where we want our simple deform to start. So all right, so no deform on 8 because that's when it goes up, right? So we're simply going to right click here, insert keyframe, or you can click this little nuts right here to animate it. So right here gives you a keyframe. So that's the same thing as right clicking. Okay, then we go frame by frame here. It went all the way up. So what is the highest point? I don't remember. I think it's 16 right there. On 16, you can either give it like this bend right here or that bend. Totally up to you. I'm going to give it this bend. Okay, so minus 96 or minus 100. Totally up to you. You know, keyframe that when we watch this. Okay, and of course we don't want it to kind of land that way. We want to land it flat. So it lands at frame 22, we can simply change back the angle to 0, animate it, and that should do it. All right, so it kind of gave it a little kick right there. All right, and that should do the animation. So let's get this thing. I'm gonna hide this real quick so that we can just kind of, well, let's see, overlay. There we go. Let's go to modeling here, turn off overlay so that we can just see our animation, kind of preview it. All right, so definitely there's some more tweaking I could do here to kind of smooth that out a bit, but so, this is combining the previous lesson on how to kind of rig the character and then how to do the bend animation and give it a little bit of character. So another thing we could do here is later on we could play with the tab right here, and then you can even curl that. You can add a bend modifier to the to that one. I think this one is join, so you can definitely separate that, and you can add a bend modifier. So while it's going out, you can even curl that so for some secondary animation. Okay, so I hope you like the lesson, and then we'll have more for you regarding some basic animation tricks, just to kind of get you started.